Hello, good morning, Bev here, Clarko Vision. This is a thread response and it's for VINYLIZER. It's for his thread he put out the other week or the other day for show 10 80s albums that are not hard rock or metal, that you kind of still listen to or still enjoy, or music from that era that you enjoy, obviously, which I thought was kind of cool as well, because for me personally the 80s were, I think a lot of people around my age, that we grew up in the 80s, we were introduced to music kind of in the 80s, so it was the time, and I think in general the 80s was such an interesting time musically. Anyway, there was lots of different things happening outside the rock and metal scene as well. There was all kinds of the synth and the new wave and what's the word I'm kind of looking for? But loads of experimental things going on with synthesizers and just the sound technology was kind of booming a bit at the time as well. So John wanted you to show 10 albums. So what I've done is I tried to avoid compilations for the main 10. I've got a couple of compilations that I'll give honorary mentions to at the end. But I wanted to try and see what I could pick out that were non-compilations, that were just albums from the artists that were released in the 80s. And after that I'm just going to show some compilations that I do have, and out of the compilations, 2 of them came out in the 80s, but the other ones came out in the early to mid-90s, although they contain pretty much 80s music, because all the hits on these comps were kind of from the 80s. So I'll get started. I have, most of them are CD actually, and I've got 2 vinyl that I'm going to throw in. I kind of put them in sort of year order as well. So I'm starting at 1985. And this came out, Tears for Fears, Songs for the Big Chair. I adore this album, and it's got some of the big massive hits. Shout, Everybody Wants to Rule the World, Head Over Heels, just these 3 songs kind of made them international superstars, I think, to be honest with you. But they've released some great stuff since this as well, obviously, they didn't just stop here. But this album was the one for me. Although Everybody Wants to Rule the World is still played a lot on the radio, I hope and pray that I'll never get to the stage where this is one of these songs that I never want to hear again, because at the moment it isn't. I love hearing that song. And some of the others as well. So Tears for Fears, Songs from the Big Chair, 1985. And also from 85, we have on vinyl, this came out, The Outfield and Play Deep, another piece of 80s brilliance. Obviously it has their most famous song, which is Your Love, but this whole album's really very good. I really enjoy the sound on here, very kind of pop rock, just 80s new wave, I don't know, it's just 80s class basically. And this is a Canadian pressing, and I have this thanks to Frankie at Frankie's Music, the brilliant Frankie. It was him that sent me this as VCLT, and honestly I'm so delighted to have it. This was a beauty, so really chuffed. So that was The Outfield. Then moving up a year to 1986, this band, Hipsway, they are Scottish, they hailed from the Glasgow area. However, they didn't really get major success, to be honest with you, but they did have one hit which I think entered both the US charts and the UK charts, and that was The Honey Thief, which is on this album. This was their debut album from '86, but I enjoy the whole album. There's a lot of other really cool, good songs on here. Yeah, Ask the Lord, Tinder, Forbidden, and you've got a couple of extended mixes on the bottom of this here. So, but yeah, Hipsway, self-titled, 1986. Staying in 1986, Genesis, Invisible Touch. I think, was this maybe Genesis's last with Phil Collins? I don't know. But the main reason I have this is for the song Invisible Touch, the title track, because I just love that song. It was just such a good vibe to it. But you've got Tonight, 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 Land of Confusion, Into Deep, Anything She Does, Domino, Throwing It All Away, the Brazilian. So yes, that is Genesis, Invisible Touch. It's the only Genesis album I actually own. I don't know, I kind of think I prefer Phil Collins stuff, because I kind of was more into him in the 80s than I was Genesis, because they obviously go back further to the 70s, etc. But yeah. Then into 1987, such a very important year musically. This one, Belinda Carlisle, Heaven on Earth. Absolutely adore this album. Again, the whole album's fantastic. It's kind of poppy, rocky, rock, pop, rock, whatever. Because, you know, the songs, a lot of them are very guitar influenced. Well, there's plenty of guitars to hear in this album, but yeah, not so fussed for the last song, Love Never Dies. It's a ballad. It's almost too sort of soapy, if you like. But for the most part, pretty much everything else I love. Really good. Again, 87, big album, U2, The Joshua Tree. This is the only U2 album I own. I used to have Rattle and Hum as well, but I think I got rid of that one a while back. But yeah, I don't think I need to say too much about this because of the classics that are on here, you know. But there's also some other ones on that are not, you know, obviously not the obvious hits. They're pretty good. I do like bits and pieces of U2, but I'm not hugely into them. Well, I had to get this album because I do like some of the classics on here. And still in 87, we have the Hooters, One Way Home. I think this, it wasn't their debut album, but it was certainly the first album that I came across when I first heard of them. The Hooters, I think, I've actually got a bit up on Wikipedia here just to give me a brief. I think they formed they apparently formed in 1980, but I never heard of them until they had their huge hit single Satellite, which is on this album, and that came out in 1987, and it kind of put them onto the global music stage, if you like. It was a massive hit in Britain, and I think they grew in popularity across Europe. I think in America they were known a little bit earlier. They are from America, they're from Philadelphia. So it kicks off with Satellite, but the whole album, I really enjoy it. They've got some great tracks. And to describe their music, it says from Wikipedia here that they combine elements of rock, reggae, ska and folk music to create their sound. So they do have kind of an interesting sound, a little bit different, but Satellite is such a big song. It's massive. And Satellite, the 7-inch, was actually one of the first 7-inch records I ever got. I got it as a Christmas present, along with Heaven is a Place on Earth for Christmas in '87. So classic. Next up, 1988 now. Kenny Loggins and Back to Avalon. This guy was also more popular in the United States. He didn't have huge success in Britain, but I have this album because I fell in love with the song Nobody's Fool, which is the opening track. I heard that through listening to the American charts on the radio, and we used to get that. Plus we used to get America's Top 10 on the TV as well, and again it was possibly on that. I just loved the song, and it's in Caddyshack 2, I believe, this track. But it's a really good album, kind of pop rock, kind of in the vein of Richard Marx, also maybe Huey Lewis and the News, just a little bit, but he's kind of different actually, but that kind of idea in general. But yeah, just great pop hits. Pop rock, I would say. And last for my main 10 albums, 1989, Cliff Richard and Stronger. This came out in '89. There is a few tracks on here that I remember being in the charts, namely Stronger Than That, The Best of Me, which I believe Richard Marx had a hand in writing, Lean On You, absolutely astonishingly brilliant song, Joanna, I remember that one. So some good 80s Cliff Richard on here. I make no apologies for liking Cliff Richard stuff. I enjoy his music for the most part from his beginnings in the late 50s right up to the end of the 80s, which is what this is. Yeah, so that is my main. No, it isn't. It's the 9th one because I forgot. I've got another vinyl down here to show. I forgot about it. What a daft. So, right, here's the 10th one, but we've skipped back to 1987. And this one, Alison Moy, Rain Dancing. I think this was her second solo album. She used to be in, what the heck was it, Yazoo, I think she was in earlier in the 80s. But this album, Rain Dancing, 87, and it does have two of my favourite Alison Moy records on it. That's why I have this, purely for the most part, these two songs, which were Is This Love and Weak in the Presence of Beauty, two massive hits in the UK. The rest of the album, I don't care too much for the rest of what's on here, but you know, it's okay, but just to have it for these two songs, which I really enjoy. There's such a 80s happy feeling about it, you know. It's happy 80s music, that's what they are, basically. So yeah, so that's the 10. Honorary mentions, compilations. This compilation is 1988. Bananarama, The Greatest Hits. They were massive in the UK. This is 1986, this one, Wham, The Final. I think this was a compilation put out when they disbanded, actually, and George Michael went solo after that. But Wham, I loved Wham back in the days when I was young. My favourite song from them is Freedom. Not George Michael's Freedom, but Wham's Freedom. But yeah, I mean, more 80s happy music. Another, so that was the two comps from the 80s. These ones are now compilations from the 90s, but contain pretty much 80s hits. Nick Kershaw, The Best Of, he had some top class kind of new wave sort of stuff. Wouldn't It Be Good, The Riddle, Wide Boy, I Won't Let the Sun Go Down on Me, just great stuff, great 80s stuff. Another one, this comp was also 1993 and I really enjoyed T'Pau in the 80s. So this is the very best of T'Pau, Heart and Soul. And you've got that, you've got Valentine, you've got Secret Garden, you've got Only the Lonely, Bridge of Spies, China in Your Hand, of course. Just loads of great hits from another great pop band. This comp was 1995. Laura Branigan, the best of. Enjoy some of her stuff as well. Gloria was a big hit. What else do I really love off here? Self-Control. The Lucky One, I think I recall the Lucky One from an episode of Knight Rider. That song featured, although it wasn't Laura Branigan, it was like someone doing a cover of it. I think probably due to copyright licenses or something. Now, Mark G with a C showed this comp as well. This is 1991. This comp was put together. Aha, Headlines and Deadlines, the hits. Aha are fantastic Norwegian pop trio, and again, Take On Me was groundbreaking video, I think, that came out with that one. My favourite song, I think, like John at VINYLIZER, he said, Stay on These Roads. I really love that, but I also love The Sun Always Shines on TV. That's my favourite Aha track, but to be honest with you, I pretty much love everything on here. The Living Daylights, Move to Memphis, you know, just The Blood That Moves the Body, just classic 80s brilliance. And the last comp, just quickly, Duran Duran. This was 1998 this came out. Duran Duran greatest hits. So again, it's pretty much chock-a-block with their 80s hits. There is a couple from the 90s, which I'm not too familiar with, to be honest. I tend to stop listening to this song after you get to about track 13 with Notorious. The rest I'm not too familiar with. But so that's my 80s albums. Oh, God. And I'll catch you all in another video. I'm hoping to get another couple done today. So see you later. Bye.